Welcome to Heavy Networking, the flagship podcast from the Packet Pushers network of fine podcasts by and for engineers and covering networking, DevOps, security, cloud leadership, and more. I am Ethan Banks with Drew Conry Murray hosting today's discussion. And you can follow us on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, and the Packet Pushers community Slack group. Please join it. It's free. There's 4,000 other people in there. Come on in. Today, we are hitting Secure Access Service Edge, also known as SASE today. And the way I see SASE, it's WAN evolved. And let me set that up, explain what I mean very briefly here. Back in the day, we had WAN, and WAN became software-defined WAN, and then software-defined WAN became more complicated, more complex because of cloud. And then the pandemic came along and kind of blew up how we work, right? And then zero trust showed up and added even more complexity to things. And if we look at all that evolution, so it is, we've ended up with SASE. All right, it's 2025, and the SASE challenge, again, as I see it, is the complexity of that tech stack, because there is a lot of pieces and parts that make up SASE. So let's say we want to simplify this. Can you simplify your SASE deployment? Yeah, there's a bunch of ways. And one way is to work with a unified SASE platform. And several companies offer a complete SASE tech stack that is tightly integrated so that you're managing one platform instead of a whole bunch of individual tools. One of those companies is sponsor Fortinet, and we are chatting with Nirav Shah, Senior Vice President of Products and Solutions, and Ramnath, Shenai, Director of Products and Solutions for SASE at Fortinet. And if you listen to this episode all the way through, you're going to be up to date on Fortinet's SASE offering, as well as what it's like to live with that solution as an engineer. Nirav and Ramnath, welcome to the show today. And Nirav, I want to send the first question to you. Fortinet, you guys have been doing SASE for a while, right? There's a lot there to your platform, but I want to think about this in this discussion from an engineering perspective, and I want to start at that high-level architectural point of view. Can you give us some background into the architectural philosophy of Fortinet SASE solution?
Yes, so think about SASE as the market evolved. As you mentioned, there are several capabilities are part of it. But because Fortinet has been doing the convergence of networking and security in 140 OS, for us, it's really bringing all of those capabilities and make it cloud delivered. So a huge investment from an architectural side for us is continue to build this cloud network, but making sure those capabilities, which became SASE, which we offer for a while, deliver them as a core offering, right? So all the offering from Swig and Firewall as a Service and ZTNA and CASB, not new to us. But I would say this, Ethan, as the market is evolving, SASE is becoming more advanced. So there is a second layer of SASE capabilities required, like AI assistant, using AI for a protection or digital experience monitoring. But again, at the end of the day, the architecture needs to be simple. It is less about acquiring companies. It is more about organically growing those.
So that was another question I had. A lot of companies have built their SASE platform through acquisition or some combination of what were one-off tools, and they tried to bring them into the stack. But that's not what you guys did, right?
Exactly. And that is why company was founded 2 decades ago on the premise of convergence of networking and security. And SASE really brings all of those capabilities together, which we have built over last many years. So yes, this is completely homegrown, all of the security and networking capability. But one thing that I always remind our customers and partners is it's easier to talk about just a framework like SASE, but they should always ask about how good is the security. The importance of the security efficacy is absolutely critical, and that's what differentiates Fortinet.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because you don't obviously you can just do a checkbox, yes, layer 7 firewall, yes, Swig, yes, CASB, but it's the actual quality of the security solution that you should be looking at as well. And speaking of that, since we are talking about SASE, can you just kind of run through what features are available in this unified SASE offering? Because it does matter what security capabilities and networking capabilities I'm going to get in the offering.
So when you look at the unified SASE, it's a combination of two core offerings. At the heart of the offering is our FortiGate secure SD-WAN, which really brings the SD-WAN capabilities on all of the network. And the second core part is our Forti SASE, which is really a security service edge delivered as a cloud service. And for both of them are running the same FortiOS offering. Now, because we do that, all our customers, whether they want to do it on-prem or cloud, get all the offering that SASE requires. So it starts with secure internet access, SWIG, firewall as a service, deep SSL, sandboxing, all of these capabilities are part of it. Then some of our customers want to do secure private access. This is where we do ZTNA and a lot more capabilities in that to provide them secure and private access. And finally, a SaaS access, which is where we go to CASB, DLP, and a lot more other capabilities. Ramnath, you can add more to that as you work with a lot of our customers as well.
Yeah, I think just to add more around the SaaS security, Nirav, we do support two types of CASB. So if you look at the CASB market has evolved over the years. So within Fortinet's Unified SASE, we support both inline CASB, which means that from the user's perspective, when the traffic goes out to SaaS apps, we are able to inspect the traffic inline and understand if we can allow or disallow access to that specific SaaS application. And on top of that, if the user has already files within those SaaS apps, we are able to inspect those files for malware and even for DLP. So think of this, we not just have control inline, which means the user's traffic going to SaaS app, but we also can do out of band check into the SaaS application to know what kind of posture, what kind of files are there on those SaaS apps out of band as well. So that gives the customer full visibility into shadow IT or shadow SaaS applications as well, which is a big problem that we see today.
Now, you guys mentioned that the FortiGates are a part of the platform that is delivering all of these services. So if I'm dealing with CASB, let's say, does that mean my traffic's got to traverse a FortiGate to have CASB functionality, or is there Fortinet like cloud services that give me CASB as well?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Ethan. Going back to Nirav's point around the fact that our Forti SASE, which is our SSE product, and the FortiGates, which run SD-WAN natively, both of these run on the same foundational FortiOS, which means that the FortiOS that runs on FortiGates and the FortiOS that runs on SSE Forti SASE have same kind of security efficacy behind the scenes. So when you enable CASB on-prem on the FortiGate, or if you enable CASB in the cloud, you're pretty much getting the same kind of security efficacy behind the scenes.
You're saying I can do it either way.
Correct. And that's part of a flexibility. So customers can pick and choose where they want that enforcement to happen, either on premises or in the cloud. And given the fact that it runs on the same FortiOS, they don't lose out on any efficacy as well. Because one of the questions I get from customers is that if I do CASB through a cloud delivered service, do I lose out on any features? And the answer is no, they do not. And that's something that comes up a lot when I talk to customers.
Okay. Now you said flexibility, and my spidey sense went off because digging around your website, that flexible or flexibility, that's one of those words you use to describe your unified SASE offering. So let's talk about these words here for a second. Unified's a word, flexible is a word, and then intelligent is also a word that you use to talk about this product. Guys, I come from an engineering background, and I hear those words and I'm like, marketing, do those mean anything? What do we mean when we say that? What do words mean? And so I actually want to address that seriously. What do words mean in the sense of unified, flexible, and intelligent when we're talking about Fortinet Unified SASE? So from an engineering perspective, I want you to sell me on these terms by talking through, from a technical perspective, what's actually going on here. And let's start with intelligent, I guess. When we talk about Fortinet Unified SASE as being intelligent, what do you guys mean by that?
Yeah, so it's super important for us to put our point of view about this SASE and why Fortinet differentiate in the market. And that's why you're right. It come across as the marketing terms, but at the end of the day, Fortinet is a very engineering focused company. And a lot of our customers say that. So it's interesting how you describe that. Let's focus on intelligent. I think for us, the first part of intelligent leads with providing a better security to stop some of the most advanced attacks that the hackers are using. And how good is our cybersecurity network to make sure our SASE remains up to date to defend and protect from those advanced attacks? Now, a lot of our customers know that when we talk about our cybersecurity intelligence, we talk about FortiGuard. And the FortiGuard Labs is quite comprehensive. To give you an idea, Ethan, we are talking about having 500 million sensors globally deployed, which is sending the telemetry every day to our labs where we use AI and machine learning. Intelligently, we are looking at all of the data, and then we are saying, here are the known threats, here are the unknown threats where we need to protect you. So
I should have seen
yeah.
it coming. So in intelligent, as in AI, is one of the features here, and what you're getting at is the fact that you've got tons and tons and tons of data coming in from all over the world, and then applying artificial intelligence to that data, you are able to surface threats. Hopefully, you're stopping 0 days and these kind of things for me. Is that the big idea?
It is. And why it's even more important is at the beginning, we talked about SASE as a framework has 15 different capabilities, several core security functions. What we see in the market is there are vendors talk about SASE, but they're really getting the third party threat feed. That just doesn't work. For SASE to be intelligent and secure, you need to have an end-to-end security applied. And that you can only do when you're using the threat intelligence, using FortiGuard and AI and machine learning it all the time. Now, AI and machine learning might be new. For Fortinet to control that amount of data, we need to develop the machine learning a decade ago. So this is where Ethan, it goes back to not just providing the secure access, but truly making sure we are using and intelligently stopping those threats and keeping our customers secure.
You just said something that's kind of a big deal here that's important to highlight in the hype cycle of AI. You're not talking about, we just did some new magic thing with LLMs. You've been doing AI for a long time, and we're not talking about LLMs right now. We're talking about machine learning and using machine learning algorithms to detect patterns that are to be found in the data. If you've got the big computer using ML that can detect it, we humans could never detect that.
Exactly. And I mean, for Fortinet, for us to support 800,000 customers globally, we needed to develop this automated cyber defense using AI and machine learning. And again, because our architecture is powered by the same FortiOS, SASE and all our customers get the same advantage. So now think about it. If customers are using just SD-WAN on-prem or they're using our FortiSASE in the cloud, when we find the most advanced attack, and if you want to provide the information around that, on-prem and cloud will be secure at the same time. That's what's really required. That's why those intelligent updates are critical for our customers to have end-to-end good security posture.
So I understand, obviously, you're getting a ton of telemetry, looking at tons of data, and you do need some kind of machines to be sorting through that to separate ham from spam and make these connections that would be impossible for a human to do at that volume. But I also want to have some human eyes and some human expertise in there. Is the Fortinet Threat Research Labs entirely automated, or do you still actually have people looking at things as well?
No matter what we do, human part is always required, right, Drew? So Fortinet, in FortiGuard Labs alone, we have more than 1,000 plus threat researcher. And that kind of augment with how the AI and machine learning is working. So there's a huge support of the human-based intelligence combined with automation to provide that security.
Okay, that does make me feel a little better.
Yes. And we can talk about AI and more LLM thing, Ethan, when you think it's the right time. But yes, that we just talked about one part of the AI and the intelligence that SASE provides.
Well, I think it's going to come up again, but I got a question about your pops because you mentioned having a global presence and being able to consume hundreds of thousands of customers' data and so on and do something with it. Well, where are your pops? How many pops do you have? And is that a differentiator for you?
Yeah, I think so. This one, so I've been here 3 years, Ethan and Drew, right? So in this 3 years, I've seen our pop footprint grow tremendously. And when we began the journey about 4-5 years back on FortiSASE, we started off with our own Fortinet hosted POPs. So if you look at our POP footprint, we have a dual pronged approach, which means that you'll see one kind of POPs which we refer to as Fortinet cloud locations. And those are those POP locations where we rack and stack the entirety of the SSE POP ourselves, which means that we get the land, we obtain the hardware, we pretty much rack and stack everything ground up. So pretty much we own the entire infrastructure in that Fortinet cloud location. So that's one part of the puzzle. The other part of the puzzle is that we also partnered with public cloud. So this happened sometime in the year 2023, towards the end of 2023, when we partnered with GCP. So that allowed us to expand our POP footprint into more geographical regions where we couldn't expand with our own Fortinet cloud location. So that gave us more leeway, more breadth in terms of where we could sell FortiSASE SASE into. So we have a dual-pronged approach. And again, all of these POPs run on the same core FortiOS, right? So all the core features that Nirav mentioned in the beginning, each one of those POPs have these features running natively within those POPs. So that provides the benefits for the end customer, because when you leverage SSE POPs, a lot of customers are concerned about latency. A lot of customers are concerned about SLA. So we do provide full-fledged 5 nines SLA. Within that SLA document, we also call out what is the latency you can expect. Because remember, when you send a user's traffic through a SSE POP, there will be some latency, but the lower the latency, the better the SSE solution would be. So in our case, given the fact that it runs on the same FortiOS, given the strength we have with ASICs, which we didn't cover in this call, but our strength with ASICs, given we are engineering driven, really ties into those POPs, giving the customers very minimal latency with a strong security performance as each one of those packets travels through our SSE POPs.
Well, it's funny you had mentioned latency, and I was thinking primarily network latency, because we're talking about global distribution of sensors and all of that stuff. When there is a point to be made there, like you mentioned, a relationship with Google Cloud, with GCP. They're known for their own fiber infrastructure being deployed in such a way that if you hop on their backbone, you tend to get lower latency than if you were just to run across whatever the tier 1 providers might be offering you. So that was intriguing. But then also you're saying, hey, we run our own silicon, and so we have some optimized latency there for your traffic inspections.
I think at the end of the day, what we want to make sure is customers should not worry when they connect to our global cloud network. The user experience remains seamless. And if you look at the user experience, the first thing, you're right, Ethan, it's about that ultra low latency of how quickly I can connect to the cloud location. And sometimes, depending on the large customers, the geographical different POPs matter. So our CEO has been openly talking about our investment of more than $2 billion building this global cloud network, which results into ultimate goal of, can we deliver the best user experience and security, full security inspection end to end.
So I want to dig in this a little bit. You said in some cases you go into a location, you're racking and stacking the gear yourselves, you're running cables, you're operating it, and then you've got the public cloud partners. I assume Google and AWS aren't allowing you into their facilities to rack and stack, so you're probably running virtual environments. Are there performance differences, price differences between whether it's a Fortinet POP versus hosted in a cloud, the public cloud?
Yeah, that's a great question, Drew. So this also comes up a lot during a customer engagement. So if you look at the racking and stacking piece that you mentioned, Drew, yes, on our Fortinet cloud locations, we do get full access to rack and stack based on what we want from a performance perspective, which hardware to pick and choose. But when it comes to public cloud, we don't have that flexibility. Yes, we understand that. But on top of that, given that it runs on FortiOS, we do have a lot of measures we have taken from a software perspective to do acceleration within software as well. So either we can do horizontal scaling in order for customers to get benefits of throughput and performance benefits. And that really pays off well. And our goal is whenever customers use either public cloud or our POP, they shouldn't see much of a difference. And from a cost standpoint, if you look at from a cost perspective, we do have different licensing tiers, but our licensing tier does include both those POPs in one of the tiers. So based on where the customers are, we can give them the ability to pick and choose which POPs they need based on the geographical distribution of their users, wherever they are. So the cost is not a factor, given the fact that we can have both the POPs on the same pricing tier that we have. As we get into licensing, maybe we can cover that, but our licensing allows customers to even mix and match. So that's something we didn't cover, where customers can have a Fortinet cloud location as well as a GCP POP location, and both the POPs can be as part of the same customer's environment as well. So that was something we didn't do 3 years back, 2 years back, but that's something we added last year. So that's a big thing that customers gain benefit from, because end of the day, our goal is, from a customer standpoint, when they have users going out to either internet, private applications, or SaaS, they should get full-fledged security. They should not worry about where the POPs are. POPs should be a discussion about where the users are. They get the POPs subsequently, but they shouldn't worry about either GCP or Fortinet POPs from a performance and latency and throughput perspective.
Since we're talking about clouds, then the notion of isolated multi-tenancy and all of that needs to come up. I'm going to assume that if I deploy in a Fortinet POP, I'm isolated from other customers. Is that a safe assumption?
Yeah, that's another great point, Ethan, because given the fact that SSE in general is cloud hosted, multi-tenant, and the assumption is that a lot of things are shared across customers. We made a conscious decision with Fortinet SASE when we began our journey that whenever we spin up a new customer, they would be given their own dedicated tenant, which means that we don't have any sharing of data plane, any sharing of control plane. No data from A customer talks to customer B within that Fortinet SASE POP. So we are able to isolate them fully, give them think of this like if you have multiple lanes on a highway, one lane is dedicated to the customer. That lane doesn't talk to the other lane. You can't change lanes. So in this case, that lane is dedicated to the customer. The lane can't change, of course. And that allows customers a lot of things, like a lot of customers in healthcare, a lot of customers banking, they want that for compliance reasons. And we have seen this come up a lot. So the takeaway here is that when a new customer is onboarded, they get their own piece of the pie, which doesn't talk to any other pies in the network itself. So pretty much a dedicated instance they get. And the other part is auto scaling as well. So as the customer wants to scale higher in terms of the users, we also have the ability to scale those customers individually if need be. So without impacting anyone else, right? Because again, the entire POP is shared, but the data plane, control plane is never shared between the customers.
Got it. Speaking of compliance, I assume if I need to, I can decrypt my encrypted traffic as it passes through the SSE environment for inspection. But are there also cases where maybe I don't want that to happen? And can I do that on a case by case or application by application or some other basis?
Absolutely.
Yes,
yeah. I mean, that's Ramnath, you can go ahead.
Okay. So that is a great point, Drew, because whenever we talk about SSL decrypt or SSL inspection, a lot of vendors either do everything, or when they do everything, I mean, if they do all of the SSL decryption, the performance is hampered a lot. And a lot of verticals also want vendors to not do decryption for a set of users or a set of domains. So in our case, it's a very simple node. Now we just go into the UI and I have the option of disabling decryption for a set of hosts or disabling decryption for a set of domains as well. So you can pick and choose what you want to do, or you can do a full-fledged SSL decryption as well. So that gives that flexibility for what you want to decrypt in your network.
And also a reason I want my own data plane. Thank you very much. I don't want someone else just decrypting all the things of a burst of traffic and you're very noisy over there and then slowing me down. So SaaS applications. So if I am pushing traffic through a lot of SaaS applications, there's a bunch of different inspections I might want to do. How granular can I get with the Fortinet SASE approach?
It can be quite granular. I think we briefly touched upon CASB, but I always think when we talk about SaaS, the first part is really about the data security, right? The data in motion, data at rest, and the SASE framework provides those capability so we can have an advanced data security control in, right? Whether you just want the visibility and control using CASB, or you want more advanced SSPM capability for misconfiguration or identity and more. But the idea here is once the secure SaaS access is enabled, customers can pick and choose from DLP capabilities, which is built in. You can use in very soon endpoint agent-based DLP, or using these capabilities around the CASB as well.
Would this include LLMs? Would that be part of a SaaS application that I could be protected and apply DLP to, for instance?
Yes, I mean, in today's world, it is really important that first, let's give them the visibility of what Gen AI applications are you using. Having the visibility into Gen AI application and a control around that is really important. But Ramnath, you can add more to that.
The other part to this is that a lot of customers also want granular sub-application level control. So
Mhm.
tying back to Nirav's example on Gen AI, let's say I am an organization using ChatGPT. I want my employees to use ChatGPT because yes, they might get some productivity, some work done, but I don't want them to share the company's IP or some sensitive data into my Gen AI application. So in that case, you could have DLP rules called out in such a way that you could have DLP inline for any user when they're trying to add in, let's say, any Python code or any source code into your chat GPT. You can stop that inline and not let that data go out of your organization. So that's one. The other thing is we can also allow users to use ChatGPT, but not allow them to upload any file, because we all know a lot of data can be hidden within the uploads, within the file itself. So if a user tries to upload a sensitive file, we either stop them at the upload itself, or we can allow them upload, but even look into that uploaded file and know if something sensitive is uploaded within that file. So the next level of granular control is also available with GenAI security. So that pretty much ties into how we can secure users access into GenAI from an organization perspective. So all of these rules can be done from the same console. So Nirav, whatever Nirav mentioned, SSPM, CASB, both inline API CASB, Swig, firewall as a service. The key goal for us is that everything needs to be packaged into the same unified console. So we do all of these configurations from the same FortiSASE console, which provides a lot of ease, a lot of benefits for the end customer.
Well, there's a piece of this we haven't talked about yet, which is ZTNA. We used to just call it VPN, but we had to get fancy with the new acronym. So now Zero Trust Network Access. And there, to be fair, there's more to ZTNA than just it's a rebranded VPN. There is more there. How are you guys doing this and tie that into intelligence and then the unification of the platform? Because typically it's been a separate thing. But Nirav, I can see you in the Zoom window no one else is looking at right now. But you're shaking your head like yeah, man, it's unified. It's all part of the same thing. Tell us.
You're so right. It is, whether you call it VPN or ZTNA. I mean, the idea here is all about application access, right? So whoever invented the name, hopefully they said not ZTNA, it should be Zero Trust Application Access, but that's beyond us. Um, Ethan, this is one of the most interesting use case that we always been asked. When customers are looking at SASE, ZTNA is one of the first use case shows up. And there are two parts to it. One is, yes, ZTNA capabilities are part of the unified platform. But now let's talk a little bit more about how ZTNA is been viewed differently at Fortinet compared to the market. We think it's not about just providing customers a private access by always sending traffic to our cloud. That's one way to do, and we support that. But we also think the ZTNA access should be done where applications are. So if our customers are using SD-WAN and SSE, and if application is on-prem, we can do ZTNA device posture right there, and that extends the user experience in a better way.
What
But
do you
if
mean?
the
Like I'm in the building where the application is hosted, we can still do ZTNA?
Yes. And that kind of goes back to the architecture of our SD-WAN and SSEs powered by the same FortiOS. The ZTNA gateway is available universally across the on-prem and cloud.
Wait, I want to do that? Tell me I want to do that.
You can do it today. A lot of customers are doing it today.
Yeah.
But it kind of goes back to the idea of somehow in the industry today, when things about ZTNA is been perceived as always send me traffic to the vendor's cloud and do it. Not necessarily.
Or that it's a remote access solution, and so why wouldn't you do it that way? Send it just because it doesn't matter where you are. It's not like you're really going to change your latency profile particularly. Just send it up to the vendor's cloud, and the vendor's cloud is going to route it to me, wherever it is. But you're actually making the point, hey, you can get the benefits of ZTNA, the zero trust component, constant posture assessment, these kind of things you could be right inside the building and still get that. And I'm not paying a penalty Because what? I'm not going out to the cloud, you're saying. I'm still getting that same performance, but it's happening right inside on premises?
Exactly. In fact, at Fortinet, we have implemented for all of our employee. When I'm sitting at headquarters and there are some applications that privately been available on our campus, I just use the ZTNA, which is as part of my SD-WAN and firewall device. And I'm not sending my traffic to SSE and coming back, which significantly improves my user experience. And I don't even realize that, right? So that's a true differentiator on how Fortinet views the zero trust application access with the universal device posture. We let customers decide where do you want to do it. But this, yeah, I mean, the second part of unification
just
is
real quick.
Right.
You had made a point earlier. Hey, ZTNA is kind of a misnomer. It really should be ZTAA, application access, not just network access. Network access harkens back to the VPN legacy, but what we're really talking about here is providing a secure, inspected posture assessment, trust, etc., inspection of an application, no matter where you're at. It's not a remote access solution. It is, but that's not the only thing it does here.
Exactly, right. Because here, the thing that I really like about the zero trust access part is it's one part of giving somebody an application access. But then the second part is you are doing the real time continuous verification of the device all the time. So think about suddenly you are out somewhere, your device is compromised. We can instantly figure that out within second and can stop your access. So ability for not just give somebody an access, but then continuously checking your device posture is really critical part to keep the overall posture high.
Can you do ZTNA without an endpoint client? Because that's pretty much the key way you get that posture assessment element. If I've got BYOD devices or partners or vendors coming on site who may not have that agent, what happens then?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Drew. So when it comes to securing BYOD, we do have multiple different techniques that are available within our unified SASE offering. We began our journey by supporting something called as explicit proxy, which I'm sure many of you have heard the term pack file, the infamous term pack file, which is a tedious way, but that's something we always have support for over the years. But as we expanded further to different features, we added support for a capability called RBI. And again, this is not a new technology. This has been there over the years, but that's something we added natively within our unified SASE, our 4D SASE solution. So RBI is remote browser isolation. And that's really applicable for all of those who don't have any agent on the endpoint. And so whenever they're trying to access the web, either that can be a private application-based web traffic, all of that can be secured where the end device doesn't get affected with any of the malware-ridden websites or any JavaScripts embedded within the websites don't impact the end user's device. So that was RBI. And this is something we added about 1.5 or 2 years back. Going ahead, we have also introduced a feature called agentless ZTNA. And this is where, Drew, to your question, it really would be what I'll hit on, because agentless ZTNA would allow organizations to gain secure access for all of their users. Either that can be employees who are trying to access private applications through their own devices, or it could be contractors or temporary employees who are trying to gain access to private applications. So in that case, we are able to provide agentless ZTNA, which gives those users access to private applications. So here, from an admin perspective, what I need to do is I need to define a profile of which my private applications are that my contractors or employees with BYOD need to get access to. So once I make the profile, I would create something called as a bookmark link. So that hyperlink I need to give to my employees or my contractors or my temporary workers. So when they access this URL, they would have to authenticate. So authentication can either be done natively through our own authentication or through an SSO, third party. And once they get authenticated, either they can also enable MFA, two-factor authentication, and then they'll see a screen which has thumbnails of different private apps. And those private apps are what these users can access from their own devices. And then when they click on that private app, they'll have another layer of authentication that they need to go through. So pretty secure, and they get end-to-end security when they try to access through BYOD the private application. So that covered private application access. But what about SaaS? So for SaaS, we have introduced a newer capability where they could use browser plugin. So the browser plugin can be natively available within their laptops, and using the plugin, when they going to any of the applications, SaaS applications, we can provide granular controls around this user, even though they don't have an agent, can either not be allowed download of content from that website, or they can't print from that website. We also have controls where the user can actually have their cursor go away from the screen, and it can blur out the screen if someone is coming behind you and trying to catch what you're doing, right, or see what you're doing. So we do allow a lot of customization, a lot of controls to secure users who are using BYOD and either going to private apps, which I covered with agentless ZTNA, or through a browser plugin as well that can be leveraged.
Ramnath, you just took me back, man. Way back in the day, we had remember the company Citrix and the MetaFrame product. This is different technology. We're delivering things in a very different way. 20 odd years ago, we were using this, but man, there were some similarities there. It's solving a similar problem. How do I get someone who doesn't live on my network and doesn't belong to my world access, proper secure access to applications? And that product did some of a small subset of what you were describing, but was a similar kind of a model. Thanks for that trip down memory lane, but then updating my memory with and this is how you do it in 2025, which was very cool, very, very cool. Okay, so we should move on to the next part of our conversation here. We've been talking a lot about it in the context of intelligent, but the next keyword there that we picked on from your website was unified. Now, we've said a lot about unified. And I've heard like, FortiOS, it's all, the same operating system underneath. That's a big part of why it's unified and so on. But also how unified is unified, because you guys talk about this and it still ends up feeling like it's a bunch of different products that kind of got glued together with a user interface that's just got different tabs and you're just kind of tabbing through different things. It's not really unified exactly. It's more like a convenient way to access things. I mean, are we really dealing with a truly unified platform, or what I'm looking at, what I'm interacting with, the things I'm writing policies for? It feels like one system rather than, here's the DLP thing. Oh, no, I got to go into the CASB thing. Oh, I got to, and you're just jumping around all over the place doing swivel chair administration.
This, to me, was a really important engineering and PM task when we were thinking about SASE. Because, yes, so many times we talked about FortiOS has all these features, FortiOS has all these capabilities. When we were designing the FortiSASE cloud management, we really made it simple. So all these capabilities that we talked about, 10s and 15s and 20 of features, think about you're creating the profile for DLP or CASB once, and then you decide whether you want to do secure internet access, private access, SaaS access. You can utilize those modules in policies as you go. And that was an aha moment for a lot of our customers, because not only they can do this once and do across all their different employees and use cases, they realize this is just one part of the puzzle. The second part of the unified management is how you do the unified agent. A lot of time we're just focusing on these capabilities, but the agent that is connecting to my management, does it require just to be like connectivity? Or it can also unify a lot of other capabilities like endpoint protection, like digital experience monitoring, vulnerability patching. So we were thinking about unified from many angles, not just the management, but the agent capabilities, how you create the policy, and so on.
So you're saying if I am on the Fortinet platform, I've got one agent to support that remote access, to support that zero trust network access, posture management, and even to support digital experience monitoring, which is measuring that sort of experience from the user perspective.
All of the above and endpoint protection platform, right? Like sometime, if you can also enable that, we have customers who are saying, well, we know there are certain URL we do not want our employees to use. Why do you even want to send the traffic to the SASE? Use URL filtering locally on your endpoint agent. So the Forti client, which we have been doing for last many years, can do all of the endpoint protection plus what you described are the capabilities to help our customers. And Drew, we are not stopping there. We very soon you will see us even adding endpoint DLP capabilities there as well to continue to help our customers in that journey.
What about licensing? I can imagine in an SSE or SASE solution, licensing getting vastly complicated. I'm like, well, I want some layer 7 firewalling here, some DLP over there, but maybe not this, and maybe the SWIG, but not the CASB. So,
And there's a certification, so you know how to request the correct license.
right, I need an LLM front end to figure out the license. Tell us about this.
Yes, we that was one of our most important exercise, because remember, I think Ethan, you mentioned before SASE there was SD-WAN, and when SD-WAN came in, we made it really easy. We told all of our customers there is no licensing. Nobody believed us. We said there is no licensing. If you get FortiGate, SD-WAN is built in. There is no restriction. After setting that standard, it was tough for us to look at SSE or FortiSASE and say, how we continue to make our licensing simple. So you're right. I mean, in today's market, the SASE bomb can have many, many lines. But we decided, can we make FortiSASE a single SKU? Literally a single license, which gives all of our customers all the capabilities we talked about, entire SASE framework, core capabilities, even the endpoint agent that we talked about, all of them in literally one SKU. And a lot of our customers appreciate that it is easy to procure. There is still a huge customer cost benefit when we compare to other vendors.
So, okay, so literally one license. That's it. I buy one license, I get all the things. I don't have to. So is it a volume thing? Like if I got 500 users, I need 500 licenses, that sort of a thing?
Yes, so it is definitely per user per year.
Yeah.
We start with minimum 50 users, so 50 users where they can buy that one SKU and they can go on. But literally for each of the user, we can support 3 devices as well. Very, very simple to use. We even recently made it easier that if you are using the FortiGate SD-WAN, we have a simple starter kit, which gives them even for 10 users. So it's per user licensing, minimum 50 users, but we are flexible there as well.
To continue on the unified theme, you mentioned FortiGate, FortiOS as part of this, and that there's cloud offerings as well that also run on FortiOS. So if I've got a FortiGate and I'm ready to move into SASE, is this just license and it's there, or is there like a software package I have to install? How do I get it going?
So this is one of the things, Ethan, we, going back to Nirav's point, this is one area that we really gave it a deep thought. So if you have a FortiGate, you essentially have SD-WAN baked in, right? Because as Nirav mentioned, SD-WAN is part of the product. You don't need any license-based SKU for SD-WAN, nor you need to know what bandwidth I need, right, for SD-WAN, because whatever you have device at your branch location, if that device suppose 10 Gbps, you get 10 Gbps worth of SD-WAN right away, without purchasing anything, without adding anything more. Now, if you look at from a remote user standpoint, now if you going back to Nirav's point around the pricing per user per year, if you want to enable security for remote users, move away from, let's say they're using VPN today, they want to move away to an SSE based model, all they need to tell us is that we have these many employees that we want to enable SSE for. Once we get to know that number, it's pretty much multiply that number with that one SKU, which is list price or whatever price per user per year, they get the bomb. It's as easy as that. So once they have that, on top of the SSE features, ZTNA also comes part of it. So they don't have to purchase anything for ZTNA. I've seen a lot of vendors have different pricing for different use cases, like securing private access, internet access, SaaS access. In our case, that single SKU that Nirav mentioned would include capabilities to secure users' traffic going out to the internet, users' traffic going out to a private application, as well as users' traffic going out to SaaS application. And all of that, again, managed through a same console.
Once I get those licenses installed to enable those capabilities, that's it. I don't have to download a new package, schedule a maintenance window to upgrade my FortiGate to okay, now it's a SASE capable device. It's just license, purchased, installed, done. I'm good to go. I can start implementing at that point.
Yes, you can. So as I mentioned, SD-WAN comes right there, right? So for the remote users, you would pretty much enable that FortiSASE SKU that Nirav mentioned. On top of that, that SKU will give the users entitlement to connect to the nearest SASE POPs, right? So that's that single SKU that Nirav is referring to. So pretty much, so think of this in this way. To keep it simple, usually when I talk to customers, I give them this simple statement. So when they purchase that single SKU, they essentially get two key things. One would be that agent, the FortiClient agent entitlement, where they could install that FortiClient across those number of users multiplied by 3 number of devices. So if they purchase for 1,000 users, they can install FortiClient to 3,000 devices corresponding those 1,000 users. That's one part of the puzzle. The second part of the puzzle is entitlement to connect to the SASE POPs, which is where our security enforcement happens. They have the secure web gateway, firewall as a service, CASB, DEM, ZTNA. So all of those features are within the POP.
Yep.
So two things. One is the endpoint agent, which is FortiClient again, and the other one is your SSE POPs that they get access to. So it's pretty easy, pretty simple to digest, to understand, because you don't have to go through like multiple lines of SKUs or multiple pages of BOM as well.
Ethan, you bring up a very interesting architectural question, which I want to address. And today, that's a problem. So today, what I've seen is, if you see the journey from post-pandemic to today, a lot of customers are now going back to office. And the way SASE has been viewed is, well, it doesn't matter whether my user is remote or they're in office, always send traffic to my cloud. We have a different approach where we have seen a significant cost benefit. Now, we briefly touched upon that with ZTNA, but that is not just limited to ZTNA. Now, think about a use case where as soon as the user come to office and realize that the firewall and all the services are running there, we are going to do the local security inspection right there as well, not send the traffic to the cloud. And if you do the economics for 5 years or 3 years, this is a huge cost benefit. So this is where the licensing is one part to it, but even the actual architecture of detecting where the users are and when to send the traffic is a huge different way Fortinet does compared to other vendors. Okay,
so we've talked intelligent, we've talked unified, trying to parse through the Fortinet lingo describing this stack here. Flexible, that's a piece of the puzzle that we haven't talked about yet. Now, when I hear, again, from an engineering perspective, I hear the word flexible, I want that to mean I don't have to inconvenience my users. I don't have to inconvenience the business to get these products up and off the ground and running. I don't want it to be a project manager and there's 6 to 12 months to deploy this thing, and and so on. Is that what we're getting at when we hear flexible?
We just talked about flexible, but let's try again.
Right.
But I think the two part that we discussed, and that's where actually flexible comes in. Where do I do security enforcement? On-prem, cloud. Well, customers, you can decide. It's the same OS, same security. Where do I do the zero trust?
And we did talk about that. So rather than rehash the same thing, let me dig into that a little bit. Because, FortiGate or cloud at a POP, or both? Is there a both option?
Possible. If customers can say, look, when the traffic going first, I want to enable IPS and deep SL inspection at on-prem, but at cloud, I want to do some CASB and DLP functionality. They can pick and choose, right? It's the same packages, same FortiGuard services, but Ethan, you are right. It's the flexibility is, I think, truly going to be the game-changing, the way Fortinet architecture is. It is going to boil down to, can I reduce my cost on where I do inspection? Can I give better user experience with the zero trust? All of this is built in as part of the platform.
So we've talked about, SASE as covering users and applications. What about OT and IoT? Is the solution flexible enough to bring me some coverage here?
I'm so glad you asked that. My R&D team is going to love it when they listen to this, because the one more part about the flexibility is, how do you connect to SASE? And we talked about agent, we talked about agentless. There is one more use case that we support, which truly differentiate for IoT devices, where we even enable our access point and switches in a micro branches, which can send traffic to SASE. So think about an IoT devices sitting on a small branch where you can't put an agent. Those IoT devices traffic going to access point, and through there you're going to the SASE cloud. Same way we can do that for OT as well. So yes, we do support. And that kind of goes back to the bigger part of flexibility on supporting many, many use cases.
Okay, so you're saying I can send IoT or OT traffic out to the cloud for inspection before I let it move on.
That is
and
correct.
I can do that with a Fortinet AP or a Fortinet switch. It doesn't have to be the FortiOS firewall.
So we have come up with a new line of products, hardware product line called FortiBranch SASE, which is geared to this use case where you can have that device in a location. The users who are sitting behind can be OT devices coming in, or users without the agent. When the traffic goes through that FortiBranch SASE device, that FortiBranch SASE, think of that like an expanded agent, hardware agent that connects to the SSE POP, and pretty much all the security inspection happens in the. So it does provide good bandwidth, good throughput, and a lot of users can connect as well. Like think of this like a pop-up retail or a small healthcare clinic or like a branch ATM that uses that use cases could tie in to that. It's not a moving location, a static location, stationary location, but usually a small location, not a big branch or a big office location.
One other flexibility question I think is important when it comes to SD-WAN and SSE or SASE is that if I'm using Fortinet's SD-WAN and maybe we just acquired a company and they were on a different SSE platform, can I use the Fortinet SD-WAN to still connect to that? Or do I have to do something? Are you only using your SD-WAN to connect to your SSE?
Yeah, that's a great question, Drew. And again, teeing back to our goal of being really flexible, we do offer support for, let's say a customer has Fortinet SD-WAN deployed through FortiGates. They can absolutely connect to a third-party SSE. Okay, so that is fully supported. That's fully available. Not just that, but even on top of that, if let's say customers have a third-party networking device, a third-party router, or they have a third-party SD-WAN, and let's say that is not coming for renewal, and they're looking for SSE standalone, right? So in that case, they can also purchase FortiSASE standalone and tie that into a third-party SD-WAN or a third-party networking device. The thing to remember is that, and which is pretty much common in the industry, is that these vendors, third-party vendors, should support standard IPsec, which is true. I've rarely seen a vendor not support standard IPsec, but till the time they support standard IPsec, we are able to accept inbound connections into FortiSASE. That should be the key takeaway over here. So, Drew, answering to your question, we support both sides of the coin where the customer can have third-party SD-WAN, third-party networking router that can connect into FortiSASE POP, or the other way around, if they have a third-party SSE vendor, they can connect to a Fortinet SD-WAN device as well without any problems. Everything is flexible.
Well, guys, I got one last question for you here. Where do we go next with SASE, especially Fortinet Unified SASE? And give me the 2 to 3 year outlook. We kind of know where we are now, but with so much changing in the world, there's a subtext of artificial intelligence here, of course. Where are things going in the next 2 to 3 years with SASE?
I mean, it will be a mess if I don't start with AI. So definitely, and I literally mean it, that the investment that Fortinet is making in FortiAI, specifically in simplifying the NOC and SOC operation, is going to be a big deal for our SASE customers. So not just you simplifying the day zero configuration, day one, day two troubleshooting, but also we are already implementing the agentic AI capabilities, which integrate with our digital experience monitoring. And Ethan, we have seen some early demos, but as we are going to continue to expand and think about ultimately not spending weeks and months to find out the issue. Can this AI assistant working with all these capabilities can find out the issue and fix it in minutes? And that's really important of where we are taking FortiAI Assist, which is built in, but then also integrate with all the other SASE component. So that's the first part you will see.
Is that natural language? Like, hey, I had a report from a user, see this help desk ticket that you're plumbed into in ServiceNow, and help me understand what happened yesterday that caused that problem. That kind of thing?
Yes, and even better, I'll give you an example where somebody, like just say, Ethan, you called our IT help desk and said, I'm having an application access issue. And the AI assist will do the full trace out to understand, is it the Ethan's device issue? Is it the application issue? Or Ethan has just not patched the device and we have stopped his access. So we can look at all of this, but this is a natural language based queries, and using agentic AI, we can further automate that.
Well, with agentic AI, do I also get some fancy config capabilities possibly? Things like I need help writing a security policy that will limit users if they are not located in the physical North American footprint so that they can only have read-only access to this app, something like that.
These are definitely the use cases we continue to explore. So we see there are so many interesting use cases emerging. I think the key for Fortinet is we really focus on areas that truly make a difference. And the one that you talked about is definitely something we are looking. So AI and extending more is one. The second part, which we are really excited about, is the quantum safe. I mean, it will be a mess if the technologies.
You said AI, you have to say quantum now too. Yes.
And I mean it because we are talking about 2 to 3 years. We build the PQC capabilities natively within FortiOS. So our SD-WAN customers, large financial customers, are already started looking into it. But we want to extend that to the full SASE platform. So the PQC, QKD, all of these capabilities will continue to expand for our customers to use. And we think that's key. And finally, Ethan, we think the future of SASE is not just about delivering that SASE. It needs to fully integrate with the SOC. And we talked about a little bit around unified endpoint, but what about having an integration with the SOC platform? Natively, it is working with NDR capabilities or EDR or having the SOC operations on top of it. A lot of those capabilities are also coming and will continue to extend to provide a full platform view.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Nirav, Shah, Ramnath, Shenai, thank you very much for joining us in Heavy Networking today. I'm going to guess both of you guys are available on LinkedIn. Would that be a good place for people to find you? Yeah?
Yes, indeed.
You're okay. You're both saying yes. Excellent. And we'll have links for those gentlemen in our show notes, which you'll be able to find at packetpushers.net. If you want to learn more about Fortinet's SASE, the unified SASE platform, just dig in more so you can find out more than we had time to explore in today's conversation. Fortinet.com/SASE, SASE. That'll get to the landing page with a ton of resources that Fortinet will share. You can get into it as much detail as you want. And thank you for listening to Heavy Networking today. We really appreciate it. If you ping Fortinet to get into the details of what they're offering with their SASE platform, please tell them that you heard about them on Packet Pushers. That lets them know that you're listening, and that helps us feed our families. And that is much appreciated, all of you, when you do that. Thank you. Just a quick reminder, here at Packet Pushers, we offer a lot of podcasts, a newsletter, YouTube channel, and a Slack community to help you keep up with what is happening in IT, especially networking. Everything we offer is free. There's no login. There's no credentials. We're not tracking you. Just find it all at packetpushers.net. The site makes it easy for you to find what you're looking for. We're not harvesting any of your information. You could buy yourself something nice if you like. It's store.packetpushers.net. And you could see us in real life. For example, I'm going to be at Nanog 95 right about the time you're listening to this. And I'm also headed to KubeCon and AutoCon 4 along with Drew in November 2025. I have been Ethan Banks along with Drew Conry-Murray. We are sentient life forms. We are not AI-generated facsimiles of life. You can follow our non-AI-generated words on LinkedIn and Blue Sky and share your thoughts with us at packetpushers.net/follow-up. And last but not least, remember that too much networking would never be enough.